So welcome everybody. We have guests here from, I would say, different parts of the world. And we are happy to be in another session of Live with Hype. We have great topic today, focusing on AI in sport, artificial intelligence. And before I will invite our special experts panel today to share with us their insights and how AI is impacting our day-to-day sports and the future of sports. When I hear AI, I think a few years ago, I bumped into Ray Kurzweil from Singularity University, and I started studying his methodology and philosophy, and we are all familiar with that in some way, shape, or form about singularity moment, where I think he mentioned, correct me if I'm wrong, 2050, there will be a moment where the computers will be smarter than human beings, and then everything will be different. So we are going to talk about that. And I think now with the COVID, they say everything was accelerated. So is this 2050 now going to 2025? What's the story there now? Everything is now pushed forward. So we are really excited to hear what these guys and a special lady have to say from different parts of the world. Let's start with Gayatri. Gayatri from Boston.
Oh, wow. Thanks for the honor. I live in Boston, North Shore, and also in Connecticut, Greenwich. I'm the managing partner of Hype Capital. So there are a lot of interesting things to talk about AI. I come from data science background, database architect background, have worked for Hewlett Packard Labs, IBM, managed a lot of big clients, worked for Goldman Sachs, worked for Federal Reserve Bank. I used to manage Federal Reserve Bank's largest big data program for US military and Navy and all the big banks. And I also had my own consulting company focused on big data and data analytics. So I have seen a lot outside of sports when it comes to data analytics, and AI is what is bringing all the historical data, creating predictive algorithm. And now with Hype being a partner here, we are looking at great opportunities. We have done some investments in the past, and definitely going to talk about it. So super excited to be a part of this esteemed panel. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Now let's move to Steve from Hull in England. I'll just put my air conditioner on. Please continue.
No worries. I was going to say in England, air conditioning doesn't exist because of the cool weather over here. So
say again?
Quite envious. Air conditioning doesn't exist over in the UK. It's too cold over here. So
that's,
I'm very envious.
You need some AI to be able to predict where there will be an air conditioner in London. That's Anyway, please.
I can predict that myself. It won't come. It's too cold. So good afternoon, good morning, good evening to everyone that's viewing. My name is Steve Barrett. I'm the Director of Sports Science and Research Innovation for PlayerMaker. I'm probably on the other end of the spectrum where it was only recently 6 months ago that I actually joined the company. I was the user of these kind of products that utilize artificial intelligence in order to try and help us be smarter with data that we use within the professional sporting world. So I've worked in the Premier League, the Championship in England, worked with some national teams over here as well. And I actually started off as a coach. So the progression from coach all the way through to someone that uses data a lot within the day-to-day business is something that has really started to influence how I start to look at artificial intelligence and how we can use that. So again, hopefully a different view of and how we can talk about and link in with different technologies to really promote this kind of artificial intelligence revolution.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. Gal from Tel Aviv.
Hi. Again, good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. I'm Gal Oz. I'm one of the founder of Pixelot, and Pixelot is doing automation for sport video production. So anywhere that people play sport, We are there to capture their game as if it was a real TV, give services to analytic and coaches with the video services, and give all the services from young kids that are playing to ESPN and other top tier that cover the video aspect and partially data also.
Yep. Plenty of, I would say, potential questions for you, but I'll hold my horses for now. Franco.
Hi all.
Hey.
Yeah, nice to be here. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I work for Valencia CF. We are a football club. You know the crest up here.
Valencia.
Yes, Valencia
Great
CF.
club.
Playing in Spanish League. Thanks for that. I'm the head of digital innovation. So I'm happy to join this panel and discuss what have we been doing lately with AI, what are our thoughts, and how do we think that this is going to be so important in the future.
Great. Now, let me start from the beginning, if I may. And, we are here, we're talking with you, the smart people, about AI. Most of the people in the sports industry, the sport universe, are not really familiar, if I may say, about AI implications or the platforms. It looks like this technology that belongs to those computers, chips, high-end, deep solutions. Can you give us an example of current AI solutions that are in sports, in stadiums, which most of us are not familiar or not aware of? Let's start with Gal.
So what we are doing is based on AI, and actually you can watch a production of a soccer game or a basketball game and enjoy the game, and thinking that you have a whole crew behind the cameras that direct and track the game and update the score and things like that, but you are not aware that actually all of it's being done fully automatic without any man in the loop, and with AI driving the data and the video and automate everything. This is a very practical usage that give you the ability to change the whole business model around it. Because if before a production would cost you at least $1,000 on up for a game, now you can have a full production with score, with everything in less than $10 a game without any hassle. So it's changed the whole business model of this TV production.
And I believe you're now talking on, I would say, on recreational amateur sports, or this is also going to get into professional sports as well. We will be able to see a La Liga game where 90% of the production will be done by a machine.
So we're definitely going up to pro, but not top pro. So if you're taking the La Liga, Champions Leagues, NBA, things like that, I don't think in the near future we are looking to replace it by AI. The AI can augment the production, but it still will be mainly around manual work. And the reason are two, because it's very low quantity of game. And the other reason is that it's very demanding environment. So if you take the whole amount of official game that are registered over the world, those games that you are now familiar with and you see them on the TV, they are much less than 1% of the games that are played. So we are definitely talking about the other 99 and the lower tier of what is being covered today. So it can be a professional but niche sport. So let's say we can cover the first basketball league in Hungary, for example. So it's not it's not maybe the soccer one, but or it can be the 7th league of soccer in England. So it depends. And so it's definitely going both from amateur to pro, not the super pro.
Great. I think you gave us a very nice overview, getting us into this game plan and technology. Franco, maybe you would like to speak about La Liga. What are, at the moment, what are AI technologies that are being used that you can share maybe from your experience?
Yeah, of course. When everyone thinks about football and AI, probably everyone thinks about Moneyball, things like that. I'm not sure we are there yet in the terms of Valencia doing some Moneyball. What I can share, the things that we are doing, some interesting things. COVID situation has struck, and we cannot use anymore this. But for example, we are able, and we are studying models to predict the attendance of the season ticket holders to a particular game. So, for example, we start the league on Sunday. Unfortunately, there's not going to be any people being able to attend because of the COVID situation. But let's say the game was open doors, we could know more or less with a certain degree of probability if someone is going to attend that game or not. This is important because if we know with a high degree of confidence that someone is not going to attend the game, maybe we can push some notifications or send some emails so that this person can maybe resell the seat for someone to attend. We don't want no-shows in the game. Or the other way around, if we had a high degree of confidence that someone was to attend the game, and on Monday we realized that the person did not attend the game last Sunday, we could somehow make a push notification and ask the guy, hey, everything okay with you? I mean, just care about the people. So this is just a silly example. I just want to go away from the AI performance scouting and so on, which everyone thinks about football. I'm more interested inside the club of everything that generates business, revenue, and growth and fan base and so on. And this is just another example. La Liga is also doing a great job in terms of AI by, for example, setting the calendar fixtures so that we get the maximum amount of viewers and spectators around the world based on different dimensions and so on, variables. And I don't know, there's many things that could be done, not looking just at the sports side, performance, scoring goals, Moneyball.
Great. So you added the element of AI can impact topics like revenue, new sources of generation of streams of funds coming into the club,
Definitely.
and the impact on fans. That's another element. Gayatri.
Yeah, I can put an extension to that. I definitely think fan engagement is a huge effect, and sports betting. I think NHL, this Pro Sports League, I think they adopted the AI-powered social media chatbots and integrated that with Facebook and WhatsApp. We have seen that happening, and another big thing that we have seen that happening, similar fashion, is NBA fans. They are actually utilizing social media opportunities and fan engagement, and this is all powered by AI. And we have seen another opportunities coming in effect with tennis, that has leveraged AI-powered image and acoustic-based insights from IBM Watson. So I think that's another area that we're seeing much more futuristic approaches. But I think fan engagement, sports betting are the two areas we will see much more opportunities playing in effect. As I said, AI is nothing but accumulating all the historical data and doing a statistical analysis and doing a predictive algorithm analysis. I mean,
and learning all the time.
Absolutely, learning all the time, and also understanding, like, there's so much of noise in the data. Also, some of the data are corrupt, so we need amazing startups and technologies to empower and bring experts and facilitate that bridge with the sports clubs and federations and with the fans. So I think last year, Hype has invested at Tokabot, and we have also seen that's an AI predictive algorithm startup that's working with Build Publishing House, and Axel Springer did a co-investment with us. And also one of Hype's portfolio is Vogo, that's a live replay opportunity platform where you can see it being at the stadium. So I think there are opportunities that are getting played in effect. And the biggest example is that people like me who is coming from outside sports, having the data background, and now looking into sports and finding ways that we can make innovative approach how we look at sports. But I also think the scouting talent acquisition will also play a huge effect because by scouting, it's not just coaches are going out and finding who are the right players, but sometimes what happens that during the training sessions, I was actually listening to a very famous cricketer. He is the captain of the team, and he was talking about a bowl-out game, how his team has prepared in the training session and collected the data and predicted that in the actual real-time rollout session who they are going to choose based on the data, not because this particular player is famous and well-known, but because of their analysis of their performance. So I think that is another huge effect that we're going to see in the world of sports.
Wow. Let's hear bring some British guys into the game. Steve, tell us your examples of great AI solutions.
Well, that's probably a good lead in. So thank you for that. Those last few comments as well, because I suppose the areas that I can really try and give a little bit of insights to is kind of that performance side of it. So while there is the whole Moneyball thing and looking at recruitment, there is an element of kind of this smarter learning of human interactions, information that's been going on within sport for a long time. So coaches, for example, previously used to watch videos to pick up those trends and patterns as well. We still have analysts currently at the minute in the world that are watching the video footage, but instead of just watching the video footage, they get the smart data insights about the trends and patterns of individual players. So actually being able to understand what your next opponent can do is actually part of that performance. And now within the practical environment, understanding what your opponent is going to do can help you better prepare your team strategies in order to better the outcome or favor the result towards you. So that means
That's
within a training
interesting.
environment.
Let me barge in. So as a coach, you've been a coach, yeah, before.
Yeah.
As a coach, I can go back in the halftime, get my iPad, and can get a full analysis of the new, I would say, defense system that my opponent is using. Yeah.
Yeah. So like for example, we had a couple of great analysts like Josh Appleyard and Ryan Madrid that used to actually fire the video footage down from a different location into the changing room, so the coaches were able to feed that information back to the players and act upon the data at halftime. So you see a lot as a coach, and there will always be that relationship of information and data, and actually the coach's understanding of that information as well to then act upon it. That's where the real art of utilizing artificial intelligence will come in. And we just get smarter with more and more data and understanding those trends and patterns within the data where statistical analysis come in. Like one of a close friend colleague actually is the head of data scientist at Benfica and who previously used to work from Microsoft. So that's a great example of these organizations now within our environment interacting with data scientists previously as we've had on the call. But also like the big thing about AI is actually that it will help us save time and human resources. So as Gal mentioned about Pixel and being able to interact with, have the video camera there and being able to look at different aspects of the pitch without needing someone to actually operate the camera is really powerful for us in the practical environment. But when we link that into some of the new technologies that have come in, so like, for example, when I was a practitioner, I always wanted to understand in training how many passes, how many touches did my players make, because that is an additional stress to them that we might need to be able to, one, can we optimize that for their performance on a match day? And secondly, can we actually look at managing that to reduce their risk of injury? So all that information together with this information that might become real time, might be accessible to the coaches, is really powerful with the video footage as well. We just have provided the coaches to more tools to hopefully make smarter, more informed decisions when they are taking the team.
Got it. I think we looked. I think we covered the aspect of performance, the impact a little bit on performance and data analytics and fan engagement, new resources of generating more revenues from smart machines that are understanding the fans and can know how to work with the clubs. When one of my friends, when he tried to explain to me what AI can do, he talked about the impact on cars, and he said that in few years' time, because of what the car disruption industry is going through and the automated cars that are going to be introduced, Tesla and the future of smart cities with no human drivers, he said it will be unsafe to allow anybody like us to drive a car because the machines will do it much, much better. There will be no accidents. Yeah, and if you want to drive a car, if you're like crazy, you go out and about. There will be a special garage where you can drive without hurting anybody. The same with airplanes, the same with everything. Now, I want to look at the future just for our audiences to understand the impact because, excuse me for saying, but for now, you said some nice things. Yeah, it's great. I'm not saying, yeah, we're saving tons of money with the example you gave, Gal, on broadcasting, and Franco, and we all gave great examples. But I want to get some kind of disruption. If we look at the future, Gal, I see you smiling, so I will start with you. When we look at 5 years from now, what AI solution will revolutionize our game?
First of all, I think maybe I will disappoint you a little bit because I think in sport, at the end, AI will not play instead of the players. You have even in esports, eventually in sport, it's all about getting the human to put the human capabilities in the limit, and I don't think it will replace the human capability. So it's not like
this call is being recorded, by the way.
What?
This session is being recorded.
Yeah, and I'm definitely behind it. Same, I think I was also was in a session with a few commentators. I think the world of commentators will change and will be much more personal and things like that. But at the end, where people are looking for the personal aspect, and I think that this is thing that the AI is lack of. The AI is very professional, but I don't think you're looking for this in the commentator world or in the sport world. You're looking for the human getting into the edge. I do think that the AI help a lot around it, so it will improve the player capabilities by product like Player Makers or Track 160 or others. It will improve the way you watch sport by Intersport, by other features. It will extend dramatically the amount of sport that is available by Pixelot and other. It will make sport more available because the production now is cheaper. But I personally don't think that there will be a dramatic change in the core of the sport if you compare it to other maybe even medicine or maybe even definitely automated vehicle.
Got it. So you're not we can't blame you on being one of Elon Musk fans with the new chips that are going to be installed in our mind and make us much smarter, much better in all aspects, recovering faster and be better in everything we do. Anyway, no, it's okay, Gal.
I guess companies like Ace and others that are using AI to improve the mind capabilities. still it's in the limit. So if someone is very good, they can make it a little bit better. But chip and that stuff, I leave it to Elon Musk.
Okay. That's great to hear from a guy who disrupted all the broadcasting industry, talking about limits. That's nice. Franco,
I think
the future in La Liga 5 years from now. What's happening? I'm going with my son. What will happen? I seeing a game. What's happening?
I think AI is going to make a lot of changes indirectly. What do I mean? For example, what Gal explained, AI is going to change the way we consume and sports. For example, in football, it's already happening in many other sports. So people now have their phone, they want immediate content and so on. So maybe with the use of tools and companies like Pixelo, you will be able of watching just a part of the games that you are interested in. So there's a huge risk that we have boring games, like games that end up 0-0. You already probably know that there's broadcasting companies only broadcasting and charging you for the last quarter of the NBA, or just watching the golf tournament, the shots that you want to watch from your best player. So what is this going to do? This is going to make, probably not in 5 years from now, people that work in sports, FIFA, UEFA, I don't know, question themselves, is this game enough? Do we have enough content in terms of, is this attractive enough for the fans? Or do they want, for example, to watch other sports where you have lots of baskets, lots of tennis points, lots of golf shots? Because football game can end up 0-0 and practically nothing happening over 90 minutes. And I don't know if the Gen Z people, which have a short attention span, are going to be able to watch 90 minutes of the game. Of course, you have the passion and so on going on, and that's not going to finish ever. But I do believe that maybe we reach a point where real sports is less attractive to the new generations than the esports, for example. And people will want to watch maybe a FIFA game where the result could end up, I don't know, 8-7, something like that, instead of watching the real game itself. So I don't think AI is going to directly change how we play the sport, but it's gonna raise up questions indirectly in terms of how can we make the sport much more attractive, due to the fact that how we are going to consume sport is already changing, and it's going to change much more. Social media, TikToks, and so on. That's my prediction.
Gayatri, thank you.
Yeah. I think I agree with all of them. I just want to bring this in notice that I don't know if you have seen the movie Idiocracy. So the future is, we always think the future is bright, future is great, but future depends on whom we put in charge. So it just works similarly with AI also. AI is nothing but collecting the historical data and doing a statistical analysis, predictive analysis, and so we need to make sure that we are collecting the right amount of data. Sometimes collecting a lot of data is not very helpful. There's a lot of noise. There's a data corruption. So so we need to put experts in charge to find out that opportunities. And I also want to say that AI is considered very sensational with Elon Musk and what Facebook is doing, but people need to understand, like, AI founded more as an academic rigor and discipline, like way back in 1955 around this area. And there's tons of disappointment, and we called it like AI winter that happened. And obviously we are talking about machine learning. That's an extension of AI. We are talking about artificial neural networks, which you just stated about Elon Musk. But again, at the end of the day, AI has been formed there are multiple traditional parameters that plays in effect, whether it's the reasoning, the knowledge presentation. But the idea is, like, can we have human intelligence be precisely transformed into a collective data analysis so that a machine can simulate that? So I feel like when it comes to sports, it's all about the emotions, and we all love sports, and it's independent of demography boundaries wherever we are, and that's why we are here all together. But I think AI will enable the qualitative factor of it, but I do not know how much it will remove the human touch. I mean, some of the areas I definitely feel like since we talked about esports, I want to touch base on that there are a lot of young gamers that are coming in this area. And I'm not a gamer, I have never played video games as such in my life, but I used to do a lot of boxing on Xboxes and others. But I feel when we see young gamers coming into this place, they can find out certain platforms where they can utilize data analytics model to find out faster what are their weaker points, and it will be easier for them to work directly with some of the pro players. So I think we are looking at AI more as an enabler to make the game, which had been traditional for so long, that consumes so much of time and energy. And I think it's going to enable the players to be much more powerful, not just in the performance wise, but also injury. I think Steve talked a little bit about it. So I consider it more as an enabler, but at the end of the day, I think the future lies in the hand of the experts who are designing the algorithms. So if we, that's where the power lies, and that's where we think the future will be much more optimistic.
Yeah, so speaking about the power, you probably refer to the big guys, the Amazons, the Facebook, which are already using those algorithms and the AI technology, and they already understand what we like, what we don't like, and I think we personally, I see personalization as one of the big topics coming up now, and Amazon and Facebook buying now sport rights all over the world. We see it around us. So they will be able to know what I know anyway, what I like, what I dislike, and they will start, using their AI, machines to take over my world. Yeah.
Yeah, there's also an ethical factor to it. I mean, there's a lot of discussion, and public policies have not yet evolved. I sit on Harvard Kennedy School Board, which is a public policy school, and we talked a lot about AI and public policies, the ethical side. So I always say that the people who are in power, or to whom we give the power, I think they are the ones who's going to decide how we will get the future much more enjoyable and much more engaging for common people. I think that's very important.
So we are, however we look at that, the AI, it's through sport, they can get additional power on us, because this is where the emotions are. If we look at what happened in the election, sorry, I'm diversing a little bit, yeah? But sports is where our passion is. Yeah, we see nothing. We are diehard fans. And then Amazon and all those big giants can really use their AI robots to get a lot of information and, take it where they want. Sorry to stay on that point, but you want to keep on staying politically correct with that, it's okay, Gayatri.
No, I think it's relevant. After all, we are all looking for new revenues, especially in this coronavirus state. And I think that getting more attraction for a very dedicated viewers is only a good thing, because then Franco can bring more people to watch his make more revenue to his team if using a system like Pixelot or others that bring fans where before he couldn't reach them, so I think that it's not only bad. I mean, we see these big companies as like the monsters, but they are actually helping us all to bring more revenues and bring more fans, and this is the fact of life. I mean,
absolutely. No. I just wanted to raise to bring the energy up a little bit, and I managed to get your barging in, which was great. So you're saying in the end of the day, the Amazon, the Facebook are delivering those, giving us access to those great games through your technologies and your platforms, and with your technology, AI technology, you can help personalize it and make it better, so we can all enjoy what we love. Yeah, Gal?
Yes, and if it means that if you want to watch your town soccer team, and they never have the money to pay for even for the Pixelot system, but then they can bring Nike as a sponsors because Nike knows that the ones that are going to view it are sport fans. Then eventually everybody enjoy it. So you can call it the big Nike. Take advantage of the fans that are watching the game, but this is
everybody wins on the way. Great, Steve, please.
Yeah, I think like we're talking a lot about the obviously the more data we have, the smarter we can be with these kind of like artificial intelligence, machine learning, and so on. That's why learning from the people that have the biggest access or pool of data, like the Amazons in the world, is fantastic to then breach it down. Now, within sport, for example, the fan engagement is a big pool of data. As we get closer, recruitment, okay, you have access to all the players in the world. That's still like getting smaller. And then when you actually approach an individual team, the actual use of AI is going to be really, really difficult because of the small sample pool. And I always remember a story a coach told me, and this was a coach I had to persuade to use this kind of technology. He said like he had people telling him that the best game he ever played was one when he wasn't supposed to play because he was injured, and the manager rang him up the morning of the game and he'd had a full English breakfast, which for those of you that aren't aware of what English breakfast contains, sausages, bacon, eggs. Yeah, it's not a healthy meal. And he had 2 pints of Guinness. So
in the morning
before the game, yes. And so he won the Premier League championship. Like he won the title, like with Man United. So this is a player
Can you reveal the name or it's off record?
No, I'd never like to reveal the name. Audience can probably guess who it is. He's still a manager in the Premier League nowadays as well.
Ooh.
But this is the emotion. This is the emotion that we have within sport as well, and we always will have the anomalies within our small data pool, because while we think that the human, and we mentioned in here, while we think humans can be predicted by numbers, they can't be. How do we predict that this player, because he's white, do we take the information that he had a bad night's sleep because he's got a baby at home, and then do we say that he's going to get sent off because he's tired and lethargic from that? Even if we take wellness scores, for example, within our environment, and we then try and put it into these learning algorithms, the emotion of the player really detracts from what potential we're going to learn. And that's why it's these kind of artificial things really need that big data set and need to not necessarily forget human emotions, but because they are so variable and they're so different, all 5 of us who are on the call now will react differently to a response of exercise, and those different responses means that we can't predict based upon us 5 in this audience. So when we talk about trying to inform our training processes or trying to predict this player is going to have his best game today, it's near impossible within the elite sport environment. What we try and do is use the information that we've got to inform the players and the coaches of the best situation. Now, that head coach that I referred to earlier, if he thinks that's going to be his best game and he tries to replicate that, it isn't going to happen again. And he said he tried it again and he played terribly. So when you take that all into account, this is why sometimes big pools of data and the fan engagement, the big data sets that we're talking about, that context within sport and fan engagement is going to be really powerful. I do think virtual reality and augmented reality will be really good uses of kind of AI moving forward, being able to actually watch the game actually embedded into the pitch. I think will be one of the evolutions that we'll see from a fan engagement point of view, which in turn can actually help. And there's some great companies out there like Rezel, one of the virtual reality systems, are immersing people within the game now so that you can actually see where the players are. And what we're doing is providing another tool for these coaches and for these players as support staff, as people working with this technology, because we're translators ultimately. Like, not everyone within sport will understand what AI can do and what it's capable of. And if they do, they've spent too much time on a night reading late at night when they should be resting up, ready to go play and get the game ready for the next day. So therefore, we're here to actually bridge that gap and try and use the information as much as what we can. And in smaller data sets, it's really difficult to do. And that's why I think I wanted to add that balance where the huge data sets that we're talking about on this call with fan engagement and everything else. Now, as a company, we release data once we have over 1.5 million worth of records. So we recognize 1.5 million number of passes, and we can automate that for the users, which will save them time analyzing their data. Clubs might not use that information, but they might do. And if they decide to use that information, it's a lot quicker than coding it and manually doing it themselves, which ultimately I believe is the big powerful tool of what artificial intelligence or machine learning can actually bring, is that learning those automating human processes is one of the biggest powerful things that we can achieve from this kind of technology. Apologies to go off.
No, it's good. And you know, we mentioned earlier COVID. You know, from what you sense in the last 6 months, I think we are now 6 months since COVID took over our lives. What do you see? How do you see AI, or what your businesses and AI, help us? Or do you think AI has pushed forward? Technology is now moving faster because of COVID? Gal.
Yeah, I think that we had quite a roller coaster in this 6 months, because January we broke the record of our live broadcasting hours. We broadcast almost 100,000 hours of live broadcasting. It's amazing. It's like I don't know, few times more than all ESPN broadcast over a year. Not in matter number of ice ball, but in number of live sport production. And then I think in the second half of March, it dropped to maybe 1,000. So it's like the world was shutting down, and it took a few months to understand what is the situation. And what we see now that people realize that actually the budgeted are low, because you don't have fans and you don't have all the money to spend. You need to do safe sports, so you cannot bring fans to see the games. So we see now a trend that people understand that the streaming and low cost production are becoming a very big trend, and we see this definitely in the sales and in the interest we get from different companies and different clubs, and we work also. We have a process with Valencia and many others. But it's from the young, even in high schools in the US, even in high school in the US now, they have hundreds of systems per week that they are now adding in colleges, in different league over the world. We see it now. People realize that this is the best combination of having a safe sport, but still keeping the fans engaged.
Got it. What about you, Franco? COVID.
I'd say, well, as you know, from the club perspective, the COVID situation has struck really. It's been awful because of the people not being able to attend the stadium. So that means you lose a big piece of revenue, which is ticketing, either match day ticketing, season ticket holders, and of course you lose part of the essence of the sports, which is people watching live the sport. So there's many things that have been happening lately that have accelerated. One of them I mentioned already, which was esports. Everyone saw during the quarantine at some point some of their favorite players playing with themselves.
You have an esports team, Valencia?
Yeah, we do have an esports team. Yeah.
What games?
But we we have an esports. It's called also Valencia CF, and it's powered by another company also. And there's many companies and there's many clubs that now are watching and seeing the value of having this esports. But we also saw some of our players playing online tournaments with Valencia CF and so on. Again, some of the things that I see, AI, you mentioned, the three of my colleagues here mentioned, it helps in automating things, it helps preventing and predicting things. I think that's really important now that we don't have much, we have to look very well at the cost we face. So everything that could be cut down is going to happen. AI, using AI to every single aspect of the organization will help predict whatever you are trying to predict, and also it will help you cut down some costs. The other thing is it's also going to help is optimizing every single aspect of your organization. Like, for example, social media posting, you probably want to get as much revenue as possible. Also, some other guy also asked on the comment section, sponsorship is changing quite a lot. So everything related with sponsorship is gonna change. It's already changing, because there's most of the assets that you gave those sponsors, you're no longer going to be able to deliver to them, because there's most of them that depend on playing a live game. So we already see a shift of the sponsors getting to us and asking us about digital assets and about things like data, things like I thought a couple of years ago they were not interested in, but now they don't have any other thing they can look at. So if they want to sponsor and ask for things for the club, we have to look at our digital assets. Mainly, there's been a huge roller coaster in terms of things speeding up. All those trends that we were seeing, some of them are really speeding up. E-commerce also has a huge boost in our case because the stores were closed at some stage. So it's basically a mix of everything that we are doing have experienced a huge acceleration.
Yeah, and we saw it, what you're referring. Yesterday, we had our final of the clubs and federations with the Global Virtual Accelerator. We had 13 clubs, federations from all over the world, including Paris Saint-Germain, FIBA, River Plate, Golden State Warriors, and others. And they were all talking about, what kind of technologies we can implement. And the question that brings us to Gayatri, and from your aspect of investment, first of all, is AI more? It's regarded like deep technology. It's more complicated to create. Like, if I'm now going to create an AI company, also maybe for the others who have this question, is it like definitely a deep technology which will take me longer to implement, and it's much more expensive to create as a startup? And what do you see in terms of the future, if because of COVID now, Gayatri, are we going to see more and more AI startups getting to sports?
I think COVID-19 has definitely put a very difficult situation in the world. I mean, I was quoted last year at TechCrunch. I was saying that, sports is a non-cyclical industry compared to other industries. And this is actually the biggest consumer industry in the world. So, and I was wrong saying that, it's a non-cyclical. I mean, you can see the various technologies that are surviving, like Zoom and other platforms, but we cannot put players on the ground.
Surviving? What do you mean surviving? You saw the share of Zoom?
Yeah, I mean,
surviving very well, including Peloton and Zwift and all the other, startups and companies that's great. They knew how to take benefit from the opportunities coming up.
Exactly. I mean, so surviving is a very conservative way to say it. I think Zoom went from 10 million users to 300 million users. And I think we are seeing a rise of different kind of opportunities that are coming into the market. Even we are seeing SPAC that is coming more in sports now. So coming to your question, I feel like it's a very unprecedented time, but it needs an opportunist entrepreneur to find what way they can make money. And obviously, I just want to say that if they see this is an opportunity for people to come together and create an AI-related company. But again, coming back to what Steve said, it's not just there's data is floating around, I'm going to catch all the data and create an AI solution. It's the product market fit. And the most important thing I always talk about, promise market fit, because sports is one area where loyalty and trust factor are built into the part of the product architecture. So because the moment you associate your product or your platform with any club's federation, there's an immediate trust that is built into that. So I strongly feel that it's very important that an entrepreneur find out that if if he or she is going to bring a product in this market, is this product going to survive after COVID-19 also? So I think that is something that it's important to bring into effect. And I think artificial intelligence has been going on for very long. So it's not like, hey, we are going to bring it like tomorrow and create some great companies. But I think analyzing and understanding the market and working with these clubs, and I think that's, again, coming back to our clubs and federations, asking them, what are your pain points that you're facing during COVID-19, and how can I enable, your fan engagement or other opportunities that you are not able to tap into due to COVID-19, or it can be an extension of the future opportunities also. I mean, I can talk a little bit about the augmented reality that Boston Red Sox took into effect with working with the Snapchat group. And I think there are a lot of such opportunities that can be played into effect. But having said that, Steve has said the quality of the data is very important when you're dealing with AI. And number two is the amount of the data. So I think understanding that and then providing a solution, and the solution that can be scalable, otherwise it becomes a small business. So a scalable solution is something that you can get money from venture capital and the other industries. So scalable, repeatable solution, it's very, very important.
Can I just add to what Gayatri said? And thank you for those comments, Gayatri. And it kind of links to the two questions that have just been asked on the comment section as well.
Yes.
Please
feel free. There are questions here in the comments. You can give them a glance. Yes.
Yeah. So basically, going back to that now, when you ask questions, so we had a solution as a company, for example, that was a team solution. So we would send it out to clubs. They would use it within training environments. When COVID hit, there was no team solution. So what we actually did, and this has now actually created a roadmap for the company itself, and we were talking about this yesterday, Gal and our CEO Guy was speaking about this as well, is that we've now created an individual remote solution using our information to provide insights to the consumer and also to the different levels. So where a business doesn't just look at the elite level, but also and again, I'm just looking at Christopher's comments as well. So when we talk about interacting with the different fans and the different levels of population, we've got academy players that are trying to become professional level players who can't receive coaching because COVID restricts them. So there's been some great apps and some great technologies created in order to help integrate that. And there's a couple of teams like Toronto and Chelsea who've actually used kind of the apps with augmented reality, virtual reality to actually help engage them with that. Now, as a company as well, we're in the beta version of testing a new consumer app, which will be available for like the youth sports and pre-professional levels. And what we want to do, and using the artificial intelligence and machine learning, is actually provide insights to those people. So while we have, there might be fans and they want to be able to compare themselves to this player and that player. So let's provide them with that. So as part of our remote solution now, we're actually using the information behind the scenes that we've learned using artificial intelligence to then say to the guys using the product, this is what the top players do in the Premier League. This is what you compare them to. So it's bringing that engagement to, obviously we have fan engagement and giving them different aspects, which these guys are more expertise within that than me. But when we talk about physical performance and also technical performance, by having sensors that are actually on the individual, and I'm just going to Renish's comments as well, incorporated into this, is that we wouldn't be able to do that in a remote situation. Otherwise, you would require each individual player to take a camera out, set it up themselves, and if they go running for 10 kilometers, how are they going to be able to track themselves? So we require a solution that can, one, be put onto a player that they can wear anywhere, so there's no infrastructure required. When they're in a team environment using systems like Pixlot, for example, the two components really benefit and complement one another. But when the individual's trading on their own, that's why Strava became one of the biggest hits during the lockdown as well, is because they were able to be used on people's phones. They could carry it around with them anywhere they went. And I'm sure All of us that exercise have got a Strava account or used it in some way. But what we then need to do is actually, that's great for running. But what about when we climb stairs? What about when we actually play football with our friends? How do we actually integrate with that? And that's where I think the tracking, using sensors instead of the cameras for tracking player performance, can help us merge training and match play data close together. Like when we talk about semi-professional, which is a bigger volume of market than the elite environment, not necessarily.
I think Steve is freezed.
Sorry, for financing. No, can you hear me? Sorry.
You just got back. Yeah, you freeze for a second.
Apologies about that. So all I was saying was that the different populations around the world, some, if we use tracking technologies like cameras, so like the optical tracking systems, they're great within big stadium environments where maybe stuff like GPS is limited and so on. But however, we can't take those optical tracking systems out to our park and we can't interact with them there. So it's finding the right technology for the different environments. And that's where I think Christopher and Rish's comments, apologies, I'm mispronouncing that, merge together as well. So
thank you very much, Steve. Yeah, I think you addressed those questions. Just we are about to wrap up. I want to maybe do a very quick round. You know, when I heard somebody explaining the idea of predicting in business, and he said that, you know, as Gayatri said, you can predict based on the past. So if you would have asked to predict let's say the taxi industry, yeah, you would have got it all wrong if you would have invested in taxi shares, because Uber came over and disrupted the industry altogether. So prediction cannot encounter disruption. The same with Airbnb, yeah? Who would imagine that this would be such a, you know, amazing industry that will impact all the travel industry, yeah? So disruption is really changing, you know, really make it a bit difficult to predict how something will stay, you know, stay and grow organically. Now, when we are talking about sport 5 years, 10 years, I personally believe, and I'm not an expert, not on AI, certainly not, but I think I look at esports. You know, I'm missing an esport guy here because I think esport will be amazingly impacted by AI. I think maybe AI can be part of the game. Maybe AI.
I mean, in every esport, in every game, AI play part of it.
Yes, already.
Yes, I mean, it's a big part of it.
Big part of it. Okay.
But yeah, there's already chess players playing against IBM. So.
Yes. But I mean in a disruptive way. Maybe I don't know exactly how it will look like. But more like the Elon Musk direction, disruption that will create a new way of gaming, a new type of game that will involve some kind of AI, which will combine, you know, AI learning and human learning. I don't know if I make myself clear at all. Yeah. And but I want to hear you in terms of disruption, coming back to the future. Can you see any crazy disruption if we want to really think out of the box now, and, you know, anything that AI can come here and do with us in the sport universe? Let's start now with Steve.
You might not like to start with me, but there's a famous coaching phrase.
By the way, I got a message from one of our viewers that has a bet on who the coach that you refer to in your story.
Oh, fair enough. It's an easy guess if you know the English Premier League.
It is.
So there's a famous coaching phrase used a lot over here in the UK and probably around the world, and it kind of reflects my opinions on the use of AI and machine learning. and it's called KISS. And it's what it stands for is keep it simple, stupid. There are a lot of smart, intelligent people using this, but as Gayatri, Gal, and Franco have all mentioned as well, it's about the question that the user is asking of the information to really help inform the process that you're using this technology for. So humans aren't numbers, but numbers come from humans within our environment. So that's where we have to balance the approach, and they might be able to predict, but I know within my environment that the word predict is actually a really negative terminology at the minute, because we have some companies that are claiming that they can predict, for example, injuries, which to someone like me is impossible, and you are actually onto a negative sales point straight away because the numbers and volume of data isn't there. So we need to ensure that, as Gayatri has pointed out as well, we're using the information that we're gathering to help inform the end user, and it actually makes sense to them, rather than trying to come up with innovations that don't necessarily innovate in the right manner.
Got it. I like the KISS. Yes, Gayatri.
We all do at some point.
Yes. Keep it.
Yeah, I think as an investor,
keep it simple and stupid. Yes.
yeah, as an investor, we love KISS. We want it simple, repeatable, scalable factors. But I think since here we are talking about the predictive accuracy, I just want to say that in the sports world, when we are looking at a novel sports prediction framework, that comes more from the learning strategy, whether the machine learning or other future researches that can come in effect. But I'm very positive that there are some great tech startups that's going to come in effect. And I also think there are some opportunities that the clubs and federations that are coming forward and, enabling us, like companies like Hype and other, companies which are accelerators, which are investors. And I think the need that they think that we want to work with the tech startups, not just with the legacy, technologies like Amazon, like Facebook and others. And I think that is the future, because you can give opportunities to these amazing entrepreneurs and pilot their products and see if that is a workable solution. So I think the future lies, because the entry to barrier is now getting minimum for technology companies to come and play in effect and be at the same level with other bigger giants. So I think that will create a much more better solution and better opportunities. But again, it's all, if you're focusing on the predictive accuracy, I think it all depends on the quality of the data. And I'm definitely very hopeful for the tech startups that are coming in this area.
Great. And you mentioned the tech startups. Just to reveal to you, it will be shared early next week. Out of the last batch of the accelerator, 70 startups have earned or won a pilot with one of the top brands in the world.
That's great. Oops. Congratulations.
Can you see me?
Yes.
Maybe it's just, yeah. And there are about 24 which are in the making. So, yeah, that's an outcome that will be shared next week, and we are proud of that. Yes, Gal, from your end.
So as I said, I think that the main difference will not be in the way that I don't know, Messi or Ronaldo are playing, but it will be from how you can scout players, because now you have much more ability to see, and you democratize the sport. You have more, you get what you want. So as Gitrit mentioned, you get a very precise consumption of what you want. If you want to sit on the couch and see the whole game with a beer, it will be fine. But if you want to see only the goals of a specific player you like, you get it as a push. So I think you'll get much more efficient use of your time, and you enjoy more, and you get more opportunities. But at the end, the game itself or maybe the coach will have more tools. I think this will be the most change. I think we.
Did we lose Amir?
It's like the teacher left the room.
Yeah, we can do anything.
Franco, over to you for the last bit.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Not a problem. Amir will be back with us shortly. So let's carry on in the meantime. Gal, have you got any specific predictions for the next few years, 5 years from now?
No, I think as I mentioned, I think the training, the consumption, the democratizing of sport will be changed. The basic game itself, I mean, still soccer will be more popular. Still, people see NBA, still things like that. I don't think this will be changed a lot.
And to the degree of individual performance as well, or only as teams?
As you know, when I'm talking with an audience, usually I always say that there are the fans, the most important fans, sport athletes that everybody like are usually one very high, like it can be Ronaldo or someone else, and then maybe it can be someone he likes to the past, and the third one is their kid. So I think this is what I'm saying, democratizing, because eventually you want that also your hometown will have the same potential to you have the same potential for youth from a hometown that is not big get to the professional, or you want to see their playing in the Sunday the game. So I think this is will be a revolution. It's happening already. I don't think we need to wait 5 years for that. And definitely the tools that coach will have will be improved. And it's quite different from sport to sport. If you compare basketball to soccer, I think it's a huge difference of how much data involved in the training. But still, in both of them, it's at the end you have a coach, you have players that have a soul, they have it's above the number.
Yeah. Well, my boss always says a true leader is defined by what happens when they're missing. And my leader's back now, so we can continue as planned. Amir, back to you.
Thank you for stepping in, Dovi. Franco, just to wrap up, you have the honor to conclude the session.
Thank you very much. I have to stress again how I feel about the way that people, the new generations, are going to consume the content. I believe that could lead a change in sports. I don't know, crazy things we've been seeing, like 3 quarters in football, or 5 substitutions, which was kind of crazy up until now, and now we're seeing 5 substitutions. Maybe no penalty shootouts, or maybe, I don't know. That's going to change. And I'm also looking really closely to some tech disruption in the stadia, because of the 5G and biometric entrances and so on. So there's going to be some really interesting things happening in the next 5 years. I believe there's going to be some of them accelerated. We always thought, for example, that the logical step going from the paper tickets in order to go to the stadium was going into NFC technology, maybe kind of. QR is already a bit old, but NFC was kind of trending. But because of all this COVID situation and placing the phone and so on, so maybe we are gonna jump one iteration of this technology, and maybe we are going directly to biometrics, which, as everyone knows, has a great impact in security and so on. So amazing. I don't know.
Amazing example. Yeah, very good.
So there's a couple of things going on in the tech world, and everything is going so fast. So it's just nice time to be alive.
That's a nice way to complete the session. Nice time to be alive. I think the only thing we know is that we don't know what will happen. We're just in the midst of one of the most craziest time in the world, without a doubt. With the COVID and with AI, with all the technologies that are impacting our lives. And it's definitely going to be very nice, Franco, and very exciting. Great to have you on board, Gal, Franco, Gayatri, Steve. Look, thanks for all our crowd and the listeners and viewers on the podcast, on all the channels, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, and all the rest, Facebook. See you next time on Hype Live.
See you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.